There are 5 things to consider when purchasing a headlamp for hunting: lumens, battery life, color modes, weight/comfort, and special features like light lock, reactive lighting, and other settings. First, lumens. What are they and how many of them do I need to go hunting? A lumen, for simplicity's sake, think of it as a little orb of light. Lumens are a measurement of light emitted in all directions. So your incandescent bulb at home, it's going to emit about 800 lumens, or little orbs of light, in all directions. Whereas maybe your car headlight's going to emit 1,000 to 2,000 lumens. But lumens don't tell the full story of illumination. To get that, you need to measure lux. Lux is a measure of lumens per square meter. To illustrate this point, take these 2 flashlights. Both are emitting 500 lumens, but in the second example, the beam is more focused, so a greater percentage of those 500 lumens are going to land on that square meter. The more lumens that land on a square meter, the higher your lux rating. So the wider the angle of your headlamp, the fewer lumens are going to be focused per square meter, therefore the lower lux rating you're going to have. Unfortunately, most headlamp companies don't offer a standardized lux rating, so lumens are what you have to go off of. This is an example of 500 lumens illuminating the top right corner of that cliff face. This is also an example of 500 lumens illuminating the top right corner of that cliff face. However, in the second example, this is a headlamp with a more focused beam, which is going to give you a higher lux rating, or lumens per square meter of illumination. So although lumens aren't going to give you the perfect picture of what your actual illumination is going to be, it's the best thing that you're going to be able to use when trying to purchase a headlamp for hunting, because it's the only thing you're going to find on the box. A good rule of thumb is something around 100 to 200 lumens for close-up activities like setting up camp or field dressing an animal, and then a minimum of 200 to 400 lumens for navigating on your pack out and pathfinding for your route. The second thing to consider when shopping for a headlamp is battery life. Now, unfortunately, battery life is the hardest thing to read on a box because there's 3 things that make the current way that battery life is sold deceptive. The first is that most often headlamp companies are going to advertise the maximum runtime on the lowest lumen setting, which may very well be 5 lumens. So maybe you get 200 hours at 5 lumens. That to me is not actually usable light. The second thing is that headlamp companies are going to advertise the max lumen output. So say a headlamp can run at 300 lumens, they're going to boast 200 hours of runtime and 300 lumens max output, but very well that 300 lumens may only be achievable for 2 hours. The third deceptive thing is that you're not actually even going to get 300 lumens for 2 hours if the box says that, because 300 lumens is going to decrease over time, over that 2 hours, until it hits what the headlamp industry calls the moonlight standard, which is the amount of moonlight cast over the earth per square meter, which is a quarter lux, which is not usable light. Back in 2009, a group along with REI actually tried to standardize a way of measuring headlamp output for light, and they actually ended up abandoning the battery standard because it made the packaging look too bad. In some instances, it cut people down to only 10% of the battery life that they had previously advertised. Another thing to consider with batteries is most of your headlamps are going to have an alkaline battery, a nickel metal hydride battery, or a lithium-ion battery. With a lithium-ion battery, you're actually going to have better performance in cold conditions. I know I talk to a lot of guys who are concerned about battery performance in the cold. A single-use lithium-ion battery is going to operate in negative 40-degree temperatures Fahrenheit all the way up to 140 degrees, whereas your alkaline batteries are going to be the poorest performers in those extreme conditions. A rechargeable lithium-ion battery, like the one in this headlamp, is going to not achieve the same amount of performance as a single-use lithium-ion battery. However, it is going to outperform an alkaline battery as well as a nickel metal hydride battery in those extreme conditions. There are 3 advantages to using a red light while hunting. The first is red light is not going to drain your battery as much. 2, red light doesn't cause your pupils to dilate, so it's not going to take away your night vision, and it's particularly going to help you with your peripheral vision. A third reason is that most animals see on the violet end of the UV spectrum, So that means they're going to pick up more blues, purples, and in some cases UV light, whereas reds, oranges, and greens are going to be harder to perceive. That's why you wear hunter's orange, because those colors are going to be seen as more gray to animals like deer or elk or the typical big game species that you're pursuing in the Northwest. The fourth thing to consider in selecting a headlamp is weight, and with that comfort. And this is going to be really unique to the individual, but as a good rule of thumb, something around 2 to 4 ounces is going to be a lighter weight headlamp, whereas anything 7 ounces and over, I would consider to be a heavier headlamp. And finally, the fifth thing to consider when purchasing a headlamp for hunting are going to be its special features. Things like waterproof rating, light lockability, brightness modes, reactive lighting, strobe light, SOS features, and even something as simple as a battery indicator. Handier than you think. We'll run through these rapid fire. First, with waterproofing. Waterproof ratings for headlamps are measured with an IP rating. Those are the letters IP followed by 2 digits. The first digit indicates solid particle resistance, and the second digit indicates waterproofing. So a headlamp with an IP rating of IP57 would be dust resistant and waterproof to mild immersion for short periods of time. Most headlamps aren't going to be tested for dust resistance, so you'll see a lot of things measured IPX4, IPX5. All that indicates to you is that X is a placeholder to say that we have not tested this headlamp for dust or solid particle resistance. However, when you're shopping for a headlamp, anything with IPX3 or above, a 3 or above for that second rating, is going to mean that it's rainproof. Okay, that is the last tech-heavy thing I have to say. The rest of this is simple. Brightness modes is another feature to look for. However, the more features you have or the more modes that you have usually also equates to more clicks on your headlamp, which can be annoying for some people. An emergency strobe function is another function that hopefully you never have to use, but if you're a solo hunter in the field, you never want to be without. Other great features include light lockability. This will help ensure that you don't accidentally turn on your headlamp in your pack and needlessly drain your battery, as well as reactive lighting, like this Petzl Swift here is equipped with reactive lighting, which will actually adjust the level of brightness depending on how much light is being reflected off of the surfaces that it's pointed at, helping to extend your battery life. And finally, something as simple as a battery light indicator is something that not a lot of headlamps have, but I find really useful for planning out how much light I'm going to utilize in the field and maximizing my battery time. Did we miss something? Have a question? Drop us a line in the comment section below or give us a call. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out gearfool.com to see some of the headlamps used in this video.